So, NaLyssa Smith. It's just always the case. But, like, NaLyssa Smith never helps herself with some of the things that she says.
Did NaLyssa Smith just throw the Indiana Fever under the bus? In a shocking turn of events, the former Fever star couldn't resist taking one last shot at her old team after being traded to Dallas.
I forgot to mention, NaLyssa Smith is gone. If you're the Fever, how great do you feel about that? My goodness, right? Like, finally.
But here's where it gets interesting. While Smith plays the victim and fired off a parting shot that's raised eyebrows across the league, the Fever might have just pulled off the steal of the century. Sophie Cunningham is headed to Indy, and she's bringing a whole lot more than just her hot three-point range. Are you ready to dive into the drama and see why this trade could be a game-changer for the Fever? Let's go.
I got frustrated watching her play, and she represented, I think, the remnants of anything else that was wrong with the team, right? From the Christie Sides era and everything. And last year was a good year, all things considered. Wish her the best. But I actually think the Fever get great return here, considering I don't know where all these people think NaLyssa Smith's value was so high all of a sudden, given the way she played.
Remember when NaLyssa Smith burst onto the scene as the second overall pick in the 2022 WNBA draft? The Indiana Fever thought they'd struck gold, landing a player who could transform their franchise. But sometimes, even the brightest stars can fade fast in this league. Let's rewind to those early days. Smith showed flashes of brilliance, averaging a solid 13 points and 8 rebounds per game in her first 2 seasons. Fever fans were buzzing with excitement, thinking they'd found their cornerstone player to build around for years to come. But then came the 2024 season, and something just wasn't right with Smith. It's like she hit a wall, and her game took a nosedive that left everyone scratching their heads. Picture this: Smith, once a defensive force, now looking lost on the court. Easy layups that used to be automatic, clanking off the rim. And don't even get me started on those free throws.
Many people in the fan base don't want her on the team.
By the end of the season, then Coach Christie Sides couldn't even trust Smith in crunch time. The player who was supposed to be the Fever's go-to option was riding the bench when the game was on the line. Talk about a fall from grace. Are you ready for some shocking stats? Smith's numbers tell a brutal story. Her scoring plummeted to just 10.6 points per game, while her rebounds dropped to a career-low 7.1 per game. But it wasn't just the raw numbers. Smith's efficiency fell off a cliff. She was missing shots at an alarming rate, and her defense? Let's just say opposing players were licking their chops when they saw Smith guarding them.
She goes to the Wings, gets a fresh start. Hopefully that works out for her. Arike Ogunbowale has already welcomed NaLyssa Smith there. So that's part of this trade also. So you get these, a lot of moving parts here, because that's something a lot of people had anticipated and thought that the Fever were going to move on from Smith. And when Howard came in, it felt like, okay, Howard is taking her spot. And now Smith is no longer there to have a spot in the starting lineup or off the bench.
But that's not all. As Smith's on-court struggles mounted, so did the frustration from Fever fans. Social media was buzzing, and not in a good way. Smith found herself in the middle of some controversies that only added fuel to the fire. It's like everything that could go wrong for her did.
Ow! Oh,
I'm sorry.
You poked me in the eye.
You're a troll.
You're a troll.
You did.
I did not poke
Did you do it on purpose?
I did not poke you in the eye.
Did you do it on purpose?
I got him the knee. That was my reflex.
It looked like you were just laughing.
Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room: the Fever's new direction. With the arrival of Caitlin Clark and the emergence of Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull, Indiana was shifting towards a more dynamic, versatile style of play. Smith, with her declining skills and questionable fit, suddenly looked like a square peg in a round hole. Think about it. The Fever needed players who could shoot, defend multiple positions, and keep up with the fast pace of modern WNBA basketball. Smith, once seen as the future, now looked like a relic of the past. Her struggles to adapt were painfully obvious, and it became clear that a change was needed.
These games, when you talk about championship levels, are won and lost in the margins. And so we've got to be great in the margins. We've got to grow in those areas.
In just 3 short years, NaLyssa Smith went from potential franchise cornerstone to a player the Fever couldn't wait to move on from. So the Fever gave up on Smith. But why? It's all about the team's new winning formula. And let me tell you, it's a game changer. Picture this. New head coach Stephanie White steps in with a vision that's about to turn the Fever's world upside down. We're talking fast-paced, versatile offense that'll make your head spin.
I think we have a common goal. I think our visions are aligned. I think the way we go about our work is aligned, and it's consistent. And you're going to have consistency, and you need consistency.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Smith's slow-footed game and poor shooting, it stuck out like a sore thumb in this new plan. The Fever needed players who could run the floor, shoot threes, and switch on defense faster than you can say bucket. And Smith? Well, she just couldn't keep up. But that's not all. The front office didn't just dip their toes in the water with this new strategy. They dove in head first. They went all in, targeting players who could dance to the same beat as Caitlin Clark. We're talking about a high-octane game that'll leave opponents gasping for air.
Fit is the most important thing. You got to have somebody that can run up and down the floor and catch those passes Caitlin's going to be throwing.
This new philosophy left no room for one-dimensional players like Smith. The Fever's new direction is all about versatility, teamwork, and adapting on the fly. Smith? She was still trying to play checkers while the rest of the team moved on to chess. Let's break it down. Last season, we saw the first hints of this revolution. The Fever cranked up their three-point attempts by a whopping 15%. That's not just a little tweak. That's a full-blown transformation. They're not just keeping up with the trends. They're setting them. Now, here's the million-dollar question. Can this new system turn a group of promising individuals into a cohesive, winning team? Or will it be another case of potential unfulfilled, leaving us all wondering what could have been? The Fever are betting big that this is the formula for success, and they're not looking back.
They add the defense, rebounding, rim running with Howard. They add more shooting and two tough players, feisty players. One player who's going to have Caitlin Clark's back, of course, in Cunningham.
But wait, there's more. Enter Sophie Cunningham, the player who embodies everything the Fever wants. She's like the missing piece of the puzzle they've been searching for. Cunningham isn't just a player, she's a statement. A statement that says, this is the new Indiana Fever and we're here to win. Think about it. Cunningham can shoot, she can defend, and she's tough as nails. She's the kind of player who makes everyone around her better. In this new Fever system, she's not just a good fit. She's the perfect fit. It's like the basketball gods heard the Fever's prayers and sent them exactly what they needed.
In Sophie Cunningham, the Indiana Fever are trading for a multi-dimensional wing, capable of knocking down the three ball.
Cunningham is starting to cook. Cunningham 3 is good.
Cunningham from the corner, locking down defenders.
Several deflections, and this time she gets the steal and the N1 opportunity.
And injecting passion and emotion into the game and into her team.
So while Smith is packing her bags for Dallas, Cunningham is ready to light it up in Indiana. The contrast couldn't be clearer. One player couldn't adapt, while the other is the poster child for versatility. So what did Smith really say? We'll get to that in a bit. Sophie Cunningham is headed to Indiana, and Fever fans should be over the moon. Let's talk about why this trade is a game changer for the team. Cunningham isn't just another player. She's exactly what the Fever have been searching for. We're talking about a sharpshooter who can light it up from beyond the arc, a defensive nightmare for opponents, and a player with the kind of toughness that can transform a team's entire culture.
On offense, Cunningham is a floor spacer and a deep shot maker. Each of her last 3 seasons, she's finished top 20 in the WNBA in threes made per minute on the floor among qualified players. And she will join a backcourt that features 2 of the top 5 three-point shot makers from a year ago, Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell.
Now, you might be wondering, is Cunningham really that big of an upgrade over Smith? Well, let me paint you a picture. Last season, Cunningham was knocking down threes at a blistering 38% clip. Smith? not even in the same ballpark. But it's not just about putting the ball in the hoop. Cunningham brings a whole different energy to the court.
Cunningham's last 4 seasons, she shot an impressive 38% from the three-point line. And among players to hit at least 200 threes over that time, only 4 players in the entire league have shot it better from distance, one of those being Kelsey Mitchell. And Cunningham's ability to space the floor should give the Fever All-Star backcourt even more room to create on the drive than they had a year ago.
Picture this. It's late in the fourth quarter, game on the line. Cunningham's diving for loose balls, taking charges, and frustrating the opposing team's best player. She's the kind of player who makes her teammates better just by being on the floor. And in a league where every possession counts, that's worth its weight in gold.
But let's look at her defense, where in Phoenix, her versatility was on full display. Capable of guarding 1 through 4 in the lineup, she would defend star point guards one game, then be a small ball 4 the next night. As the Fever look to improve defensively from a season ago, her style fits Stephanie White perfectly. Aggressive, in your face, and physical.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Cunningham isn't just a great player. She's the perfect complement to the Fever's young stars. Think about it. You've got Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell, 2 of the most dynamic scorers in the game. Now add in Cunningham's ability to stretch the floor and defend multiple positions. Suddenly, the Fever have a trio that can give any team in the league fits. Their shooting will allow Aaliyah Boston and newly acquired Natasha Howard to feast in the paint. Are you starting to see the bigger picture here? The Fever didn't just make a trade. They hit the reset button on their entire identity. Cunningham isn't just a new player. She's a piece that could turn this team from underdogs to contenders. It's like the basketball gods heard Indiana's prayers and sent them exactly what they needed.
This style helps create turnover opportunities and fast break chances for her teammates, which underscores how she plays with an intensity and fiery passion matched by few. Throughout her career, Cunningham has had a knack for providing energy when her team needs it most. Cunningham is right in the heart of her prime, just 28 years old.
Let's talk about versatility for a second. Cunningham can play the 2, 3, or 4, giving coach Stephanie White a ton of lineup options. Need some extra shooting? Cunningham's got you covered. Need someone to lock down the opponent's best player? She can do that too. It's this kind of flexibility that can make the difference between a good team and a great one. And let's not forget about Cunningham's reputation as an enforcer. She's not just here to play ball, she's here to protect. In a league where physicality is part of the game, having someone like Cunningham watching your back is priceless. You can bet Clark and Mitchell will sleep a little easier knowing they've got their own basketball bodyguard on the court. So, as we watch this new Fever team take shape, one question keeps nagging at us. Is this the move that finally puts Indiana back on the WNBA map? The potential is there. The pieces are in place. Now it's up to Cunningham and her new teammates to make it happen.
But will bring playoff experience to the Fever too. She's played in 15 playoff games over her 6 seasons and logged nearly 300 playoff minutes. Key experience for a Fever team hoping to make deep playoff runs for years to come.
All right, let's dive into the drama that unfolded after the trade. NaLyssa Smith couldn't leave Indiana without stirring up some controversy. And boy, did she deliver. As news of the trade broke, all eyes were on Smith's reaction. Would she take the high road or burn bridges on her way out? Well, it didn't take long for us to get our answer. Within minutes of the trade announcement, Smith's social media told the whole story. She couldn't change her Instagram bio fast enough, swapping out any mention of the Indiana Fever for her new team, the Dallas Wings. Talk about eager to move on. But that wasn't all. Smith couldn't resist taking one last shot at the Fever. Her parting words? To play for an organization that believes in me. Ouch. That's the kind of comment that makes you wince, doesn't it? It's like watching someone slam the door on their way out of a relationship.
Just take out I'm extremely excited for this opportunity. I promise you, Dallas, you won't regret this. That is fine. It's fine to just say that. Not to play for an organization that believes in me. Because they clearly don't. They clearly don't. Do you want to know why? Because I'm saying, like, other teams, there's a lot of teams that would be okay with you playing on the bench.
Now, let's break this down for a second. Smith's quick exit and pointed remarks reveal just how deep the rift between player and team had become. It's like watching the final scene of a movie where you realize the main characters were never meant to be together in the first place. So, what does this mean for both Smith and the Fever moving forward? For Indiana, it's a clean break. They've moved on to players who fit their new style, like Sophie Cunningham. But for Smith, this could be a make-or-break moment in her career. Here's where it gets really interesting. Smith's Instagram antics didn't stop with just changing her bio. She responded to a comment about her rapid profile update. It's clear she's excited about her new opportunity in Dallas. But is this the kind of professionalism you want to see from a player who's supposed to be a franchise cornerstone?
Obviously, it's a shot at the Fever as she's leaving. But it's like, you don't do that. Just make things easy for yourself. Just in general, NaLyssa, make things easy for yourself. Because ironically, you're probably not going to start. Like, you were a starter at the Fever were replacing you as a starter. You're probably not going to start.
Fever fans had mixed reactions to Smith's departure. Some were relieved, with comments like, "Finally free of NaLyssa Smith, thank God," popping up on social media. Others pointed out that her performance just hadn't lived up to expectations. It's a harsh reminder of how quickly things can change in professional sports. Basketball analysts didn't hold back either. One pointed out that calling out your ex-team like that isn't exactly a smart move. It's the kind of behavior that can follow a player around the league, you know?
I don't see the point in, like, calling out your ex-team. Like, I really don't see the point in it, because I'm like, there might be a stage sometime where you might have to go back to the Chicago Sky. Or, sorry, to the Indiana Fever. There could come a stage where it's like, you don't want to burn bridges, realistically. And by the way, this is not a shot. There is no chance this is a shot, by the way, at any of the players. NaLyssa Smith got on really well with the players. That whole team was a really tight-knit group. It was a shot possibly at Christy Sides with what Christy Sides did, but also a shot at the new people coming in, because she was really excited for Stephanie White, and she was excited with the way the Fever was going. The Fever had no intention. Like, we all knew from the start. She was protected to be traded.
But here's the million-dollar question. Can NaLyssa Smith revive her career in Dallas? Or will her quick Instagram bio change be the highlight of her Wings career? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. All eyes will be on Smith when she faces her old team for the first time. As the dust settles on this blockbuster trade, it's clear the Indiana Fever have taken a giant leap towards contention. Swapping Smith for Cunningham isn't just about talent. It's a statement of intent. The Fever are building a team with the right attitude, the right skills, and the right mindset to compete at the highest level. Fever fans, get ready for an exciting season ahead. With Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, and now Sophie Cunningham leading the charge, this team is primed to make some serious noise in the WNBA. The front office has shown they're not afraid to make bold moves, and that commitment to winning is going to pay off big time. As for NaLyssa Smith, we wish her the best in Dallas. Sometimes a fresh start is exactly what a player needs to rediscover their game. But for now, all eyes are on Indiana as they gear up for what could be their most thrilling season yet. Are you excited? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.